All right, right off the bat, apologies. I am once again under the weather. This is just my lot in life, and that happens. I will have another a marathon episode of my audio plays for Saturday, and by marathon I mean it's about an hour and over or something like that. And there will be a Sunday comics episode, although it will kind of be like a Wednesday comics on Sunday because I forgot to do a review of one of the comics that I meant to do for the Wednesday show. So there you go, you're set up there. And then Monday, I already pre-taped a video of a review of a horror franchise, and I'll that'll be there. So I'm caught up. Hopefully, I'm in good shape Tuesday to do more. So there you go. And the Mr. Nailsin Show will also be a collection of night stories edited together because I'm just not able to do it. But for Friday, I typically do this sort of coming attractions video type thing, and I figured, okay, I think I'm just apologies for the voice. I don't have a sore throat or anything. I'm just very, very weak. Anyway, there you go. That's my sob story. So, did see the Penguin trailer number 2, and never underestimate him. And that seems to be the theme of this, of the Penguin's rise to the top of the criminal underworld. And it looks good. And the thing about it, I did not like the Batman 2. I had a lot of problems with it, plot-wise and what have you. However, the atmospherics and moods and all that were really good. It looked really cool. I don't have a problem with Robert Pattinson as Batman. I think he could do a good Batman. I just don't think he was given the opportunity in that film. But hopefully next one will be the charm. And in the meantime, pursuing this Max series with Penguin and just approaching it as this crime story is actually a really good idea. And I hope it's done well. I hope it's not just more atmospherics that look cool and basically just kind of ripping off past crime boss stories and that sort of thing, which is more than likely, but there's a lot of material to draw from once again, like Long Halloween and stuff like that, and the crime families of Gotham that a lot of Batman stories have dealt with. And with the Penguin being a player in that, works in a lot of ways. In the past, old days of Batman, the Penguin was just, like a bank robber or something with his umbrella gun and all that. And whack, 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 and all. But later on, the idea of him being this mob boss with a nickname like the Penguin just works so much better. And in fitting in with this grounded reality approach of Batman, this works, I think, in a lot of ways. And, of course, Colin Farrell's portrayal as the Penguin was one of the bright spots of the Batman. And so I am really looking forward to this. And there's a cool poster. I saw someone said it's The Sopranos meets Batman, or Sopranos in Gotham. I don't know if Batman will make an appearance or they'll have his stunt double showing up here and there, maybe something along those lines. That this is clearly that world, and maybe they'll do that, and that would be cool too. But anyway, I kind of have some high hopes for this, thinking this might be good in spite of my reaction to the film. So, and hopefully this does a good setup for a sequel that I'm hoping is much better. Obviously, I think what they should have done was just say that the Robert Pattinson Batman is their new Batman going forward, even though with the grounded in reality elements of the movie, you say, hey, I can't see a Superman showing up in that. But it was only one film, and, even in the DC universe and the comic books proper, certainly Batman would have wild adventures, sometimes aliens and stuff like that, palling around Superman and Green Lantern, stuff like that. But then, next week he's taking down a thief who robbed a convenience store, It's just, which week is it? But this whole thing, and Matt Reeves didn't want to, and I'm like, well, who's the boss here? So the interesting thing is, if this is a really hot show, the Batman 2 does very well and much better than the first Batman film. And that's an interesting position they could find themselves in when they're on their way to introducing yet another Batman for the DCU. And do you just do both? I mean, I could see it and just declare Matt Reeves the Elseworlds Batman. Or maybe that was the plan B that Zaslav talked about. If DCU doesn't perform well, they just, okay, we'll go back to just making Batman movies for the time being, and that'll be Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson. I don't know, but it's got to score big, and should it do that, that'll be, well, it's an interesting problem, but it's one of those problems that's nice to have, I guess, because well, you got this successful property, so we'll see how that turns out. Meanwhile, speaking of shared universes, and now this is about the epic universe that Universal is doing for their theme park. And this is the one looked at as going to take down Disney, and I think they're in prime position to do so as far as the theme park world, which I don't care about at all. I have no intention of going to any of these. But I look at it because they're calling it Dark Universe, and that's in keeping with a now abandoned attempt at doing a shared universe of Universal monsters, which just concept alone I was interested in myself. Of course, it pooped the bed. I mean, they tried it with Dracula, then they tried it with the Mummy. And especially with, but even the Dracula movie, they were making him look like Batman. And then the Mummy, where it was pushing that towards more, it was like supposed to be like a superhero movie. They had their own version of S.H.I.E.L.D. in it and stuff. And to be fair, the more successful Mummy franchise was the Brendan Fraser movies, which I kind of thought they should have spun out of that. They could have had Fraser playing an older version of himself and introducing new characters dealing with the Mummy or another Mummy or something like that. And so there is that, but the horror element of these characters should have been more there. There was horror elements in that film, but it wasn't really that bad as it was not good. Considering what the likes of Kurtzman has done since, it's probably his best effort. That, and I guess Hawaii 5-0, I don't know. But it failed immediately, and but a shared universe of a world where monsters like this exist was something they should have approached as that. Which the odd thing about it is the only other successful shared universe franchise other than Marvel was the Conjuring universe, which was just a series of horror movies, but they all existed in the same world, and that's really all you had to do. And something of that nature could have happened, but maybe they're going to make another stab at it, depending on how well this attraction goes. So it's properties they have, at least these versions. Of course, Frankenstein's a public domain character, but this version of him, looking derivative of the Boris Karloff look, that's Universal's. So that's apparently what you would see at the park. They got this concept art where you go into the dark world or dark universe, and then there's some cool looking sets here that you'd be seeing, and the Wolfman and so on. And then there you go. That's probably more akin to what it's like a haunted house ride or something, and you see all that. And there, apparently, you can get made up to look like the creatures, should you so desire, and get pictures with them. Hey, that's great. So looks cool and all that. But also, you notice the period piece type look to it, because that's akin to the old movies, which is what they should have referred to in their Dark Universe approach. I'm thinking the only one you get to the modern world would be their new version of the Creature from the Black Lagoon, because, at the time, that was more in their contemporary times, the time they were making the films, whereas all the others were looked to be in the past. So there you go. Although I don't know how they're going to get Dracula to fly around. But anyway, that's how that goes. So, if you know, I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to going to the park and seeing that and having fun. But as far as a resurgence of Dark Universe, it conceptually, I can see it working. You just don't seek advice from Bad Robot or Secret Hideout or any of those people. And I don't know, well, maybe so. But anyway, if I were in the theme park mood, I would be very excited about this. But I'm not. But if you are, well, look what's coming your way. Yeah. Meanwhile, over at Star Wars, the Rey movie will be about the Jedi Academy. Says Charmin obeyed Chanoy. So just like STD is handing off to Starfleet Academy. Jeez. Boy. What did? Oh, she was on Sirius XM giving an interview about it. So this world, what they want young viewers. Oh, here, let me highlight it. Want to sort of walk into and have an understanding of the world. At the heart of it, for me, is Rey Palpatine. It's Daisy Ridley and her story. No, it's Rey's story. You're just going to have Daisy play herself? You know, she's an actress. Let her create a character for once, as far as Rey goes, because they never did, you know. So, hey, maybe Rey will finally get a story. That's the promise of this movie. And taking her on an adventure to a Jedi Academy. Well, I thought she's going to found a new Jedi Academy. But anyway, sort of creating a world that is a natural dovetail to the story that we've seen her go through in the last 3 episodes. Well, she didn't. They never gave her a story. They really didn't. And at the last minute, oh, you're a Palpatine. You know, it was bad. Very bad. So she says she's had conversations with J.J. Abrams. Why? Well, I guess technically he originated the character of Rey. So, yeah. George Lucas, again, why? He's all but said, I'm done. Dave Filoni, why? Well, he's there. They're a big part of the Star Wars universe now. George Lucas is finally a big part of the Star Wars universe. Anyway, he says they speak very often, and Kaka, Carrie Beck, and Simon Emanuel. I think the team is really taking time to make sure we do justice to telling the story of Daisy. It's not Daisy, it's Rey. You gonna do a documentary on Daisy Ridley's career and whatnot? I guess, I don't know. I think she stands for something. Does she? We've seen this wonderful journey. No, we haven't. She went on. No, we didn't. How do we create a world of adventure to take? Yeah. But in the end, the movie doesn't have a title, a release date, or a script. So, well, are your hopes up? Well, you might want to put them back down, you know. As for Daisy herself, I've always liked her. I never had that much of a problem with her. And I don't see her. I think it's wrong that she receives a lot of the blame for the failure of it. It's not her fault, but she's the face of those sequel trilogies, and that's unfortunate. And I guess she's in a position to where they offer her a job playing that character again. She's just gonna have to take it, you know. And it's unfortunate. It's just sad. The character never got a story. There was a tease of one in Force Awakens. But there was also a tease for Finn, and that was never followed through on. So it's not just it's one of those instances where it's not just that they disrespect the original canon and lore and continuity and all that. They can't even respect their own. So best of luck to Daisy Ridley, but hopefully she'll find something that'll come through for her because it's unfair, because it's not her fault. Well, there's been another teaser for Batman Caped Crusader, which I consider an Elseworld story. I think it most obviously is, and should be interesting. You know, he's kind of got more of the old Golden Age look of Batman, an entirely brand new Harley Quinn that has nothing to do with the original, but Elseworlds, whatever. A brand new, totally different Commissioner Gordon, but Elseworlds. Oh, look, it's Catwoman in her classic outfit, so she's there. At least there's that. And Batman again. There's a little teaser where they introduce the guy doing the voice. I'm not that pleased with his iteration. I don't think it's that good. I've heard worse. The guy who, I forget the actor's name, but he played the young Commissioner Gordon in the Gotham series. He did better as a young Gordon than he did as Batman. But I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. But what have you. As far as well, never mind. We'll just see how it goes. And hopefully it's good. Well, the boys are back, and they seem to be doing better than ever. So there's that for them. I'm not all that pleased with the season currently, but hopefully it'll pick up as it goes. But doesn't really matter what I think. It's very popular right now and doing very well. And it's kind of odd, because it's supposed to be the superhero fatigue, but it's a superhero show, so see, yeah, it can kind of work. But there's a downside for the usual reasons and shoehorning plots and whatnot suddenly into character stories and abandoning what was clearly there. That kind of thing it's kind of hard to get past. But and then of course the political crap. But what are you going to do? But hopefully it has a fairly okay payoff to it, and then they're going to wrap it up in the follow-up season. So, but as superhero properties go, this one's in the lead because the other ones are just determined to do themselves in, I guess. But anyway, there you go. I guess good for the boys. So in the twilight days of the DCEU, the Blue Beetle movie came out, and since it operates as a basic standalone series, it can be considered a DCEU movie, which James Gunn said, and that's just the way it is. I think there were a few more references to DCEU stuff. Apparently, Batman's voice being in it was not the case, so there wasn't that, but nevertheless, I think they cut some of that out. There were some references to The Flash, I believe, and this would have been a movie to take place after the Flashpoint events in that movie. So with a few little cuts here and there, it was fine. It was a standalone movie in and of itself. It flopped, but if you see it, it's an okay movie. It's not. I don't see it as a bad movie. It's kind of a basic superhero story, and maybe that's it. It's just too much of that. There's not a lot to it. But and of course he's a character that most people don't know, and so there's that as well. So it's a little harder for it to break through. I do know the character. I know a lot about Blue Beetle. If you watch my Sunday comics show, the original Blue Beetle is quite the star of it. But it was interesting. I was quite surprised that the movie actually acknowledged the previous Beatles with Jaime's the third Beatle, by the way. And it was cool seeing Ted Kord's bug and all that stuff. And it ended on an intriguing note about Ted Kord. And so that was interesting and all that. But it didn't perform well. So a theatrical sequel is somewhat in doubt, but there's hope in this animated series that's in the works for Max. And of course, with the DCU plan, live action actors will also be the voice actors of their characters as they're all connected. So the series will be connected to the film. And should it do well, then there will be more of this Blue Beetle for the DCU. And if they follow up on the Ted Kord story, it would be interesting to see, because I would rather a Booster Gold series involve the Ted Kord Blue Beetle, because I think the dynamic between them worked, because the age similarities and whatnot that play off there. than it would for Jaime because he's so much younger, even though he's a bit older than the comic book version in the movie. But nevertheless, it's okay for, Jaime to interact with those guys and whatnot. But it would be cool to see it that way play out with the bug and everything, them flying around and stuff. And that kind of, not quite the Beavis and Butthead of superheroes, but it's kind of what they became. And so something of that nature could play out there and sort of spin out of BlueBeetle's show. And maybe Ted Kord's, I don't know, he calls himself the Blue Scarab or something, or Beetle Man. And there you go, you're good. And Jaime continues as BlueBeetle. So, and then Jaime with the BlueBeetle and the Scarab and stuff could cross over with the Green Lanterns and stuff like that. There was that nature. So, I'll give it a shot and I look forward to see it, and hope, because I did like the movie. It bombed, but I thought it was a pretty decent movie. But, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So hopefully this works out. Meanwhile, in Rumorville, this is similar to Daisy Ridley getting somewhat blamed and hurting her career over the Star Wars debacle when it's not her fault. Andy Muschietti, I don't think, should be blamed for the failures of The Flash. That thing was a tortured movie, and for him to keep a positive attitude is impressive, because there's a lot of things out of control. He didn't get to cast his Flash, so he was stuck with Ezra Miller, and then all that scandal about him, is not his fault. Then the changing directions of the movie. It was supposed to go into a more female DCU, or EU, afterwards, and all that, with, Supergirl and Batgirl taking over for Batman and Superman and all that sort of stuff. Then it changes. No, let's go back to the DCEU characters. We'll get Ben Affleck back. There he is shooting scenes that would lead to his Batman movie, Trapped in the Multiverse, and all this sort of stuff, with Michael Keaton becoming Batman Beyond, so on and so forth. And all that got scrapped. And for the third option, which was just to have the George Clooney joke, and that's it. It doesn't really hand off to any new universe or anything like that. And of course, he talks about this rumor hearing that the VFX went unfinished, and I certainly believe that, because it certainly looks like it. So, see, they had happier times when they're horsing around, but that was a long time ago. So now there's this rumor. The rumor comes via John Rocha of the Hot Mic Podcast, as Rocha and Jeff Snyder were asked about the status of The Brave and the Bold and Matt Reeves' The Batman 2. Now, McClone's a big Batman fan. The Batman movie of Matt Reeves, he thinks it's really great. There's been a lot of rumors that, will the movie even happen, because it didn't perform well. But they're saying officially it's on track. He says, hey, it's fine. He just hasn't finished the script. Yeah, well, the clock's ticking, because there's another Batman on the way. So you wouldn't want them to conflict. Now, the interesting thing is, as I stated before, with the Penguin and all that, Penguin's really a hot show and makes big numbers and whatnot. And then Batman 2 does really well. Then, well, you got to have a Batman 3. So, but then that definitely is going to conflict. But yeah, it's Elseworlds. I know, but you're canceling a beloved Superman show that clearly is Elseworlds. But yeah, but I don't want it to conflict. It's like, what is it? So, but again, if it's all about popular shows and movies, then it's a good problem to have. So anyway, for The Brave and the Bold, John Rocha says he's heard different, that Andy Muschietti is still directing. When questioned by Snyder, Snyder mentions that Rocha heard different a long time ago, and questions if he is still hearing that. Yes, said Rocha, yes. Rocha didn't expand upon what he was told, but again, he heard that Andy Muschietti is no longer directing Brave and the Bold. As we all know, James Gunn likes to shoot down rumors, so we'll have to see what he says about this one. And it's a pretty big and bold claim. Bold, get it? But again, I think that would be unfortunate. Some of the scenes, they're very brief with Ben Affleck as Batman. It got really stupid when they made the comedy routine with Wonder Woman and all that. But it would be interesting to see his take on Batman. I think he could do it. I just think the problems with the Flash, it's just not his fault. So anyway, Brave and the Bold, I'm not all that keen on the Damian Wayne story being their, what they go with, but, handled well, it'll be all right. They keep showing this image, but again, that's not Bruce Wayne in the costume. That's Dick Grayson. Anyway, so there they go. That's that. And odds are it's probably true how these things go. And it's not fair. But maybe they're handing him off to another It movie or something. I don't know. But it's not his fault. And if they really wanted him for whatever reasons they decided to pick him for a Batman movie, stick with it. Finally, speaking of people who lost big on the DCEU, although to be fair, the Twilight movies of the DCEU, number-wise, Black Adam did better than all of them except for Aquaman 2. Aquaman 2 had access to the China market. Black Adam did not. And that would have made, certainly number-wise, quite the difference. So, got to be fair there. But his plan to just take over the DCEU and run it as his personal playground didn't come to fruition, and it led to probably a split with Cavill and all that. Certainly he fired his management after that debacle and all that sort of stuff, so it's unfortunate and whatnot. So what do? Well, he jumps to sign a first-look deal with Disney. So what could he possibly be doing there? Well, there is the Moana sequel that he will voice over. They had to redo the voicing because it was a different voice actor, because I think that was just going to be a straight to D+ show or film. And but boy, they really need it, and it's got a fan base, so make it a theatrical release. And then got The Rock come back to do the lines of the character. So whatever the original actor was, well, he's paid, but you never hear the work. But probably had to mimic The Rock's voice and all that for the character. Anyway, that's what they're going to do. And so he's already on board for that. So now other things. So then it comes down to, will The Rock be involved with Marvel? And so Cosmic Witness has got this image of him as Apocalypse. And it looks pretty cool. Maybe he could do that. Certainly it has to have been better than what the Fox film did, which was quite the letdown. That was bad. It got worse with Dark Phoenix, but nevertheless. Anyway, perhaps he could do that, and that'll be interesting. There's other characters in the Marvel Universe he could do. I thought he would have made a great Namor, but they've already done that, and plus they still don't have full control of the character. But then again, they're on the verge of a reboot, so maybe he could be cast as him in the new universe or something. I don't know. There's other characters for him to play, but Apocalypse is probably a good one. Now that they've got the X-Men back and they move forward with that. So, all right. God, I'm exhausted. You're all caught up for whatever I'm looking at. So we'll see come what may of these. Certainly you'll get more of the boys. You will definitely get the Penguin show and the Batman. Star Wars, I don't know. The cartoon, yeah, you'll get that, and the Blue Beetle cartoon, so you'll definitely getting that. So there you go. How about that?